See, Mr. Bond, like every great artist, I want to create an indisputable masterpiece once in my lifetime. The death of 007.
Staring directly at the camera. You see, it is my dream to one day kill James Bond.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kill James Bond, the podcast where we kill James Bond, and also have multiple drops now about killing James Bond. I am Alice Goldwell-Kelly. Joining me are Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hello.
Hello.
We watched The Man with the Golden Gun this week, and oh boy. What? This is 2 hours of Roger Moore, but we sat through it for you, listener.
Well, Dev and Alice sat through it. A little peek behind the curtain here, listeners. When I was growing up, I had 3 Bond films on VHS cassette, all along a theme. They were Goldfinger, GoldenEye, and The Man with the Golden Gun. So I've seen this film many, many times before. And it's actually one of my favorites. So I slightly enjoyed it.
When you say you had it on VHS, did you have it on like a pre-produced VHS that you bought? Or did you do the thing that my dad did of tape them off of the TV when they were on?
No, it was a pre-produced one. It was an official one.
Ooh, luxury. No,
So you had all the adverts in the
Yeah. We had the
VHS
like
recording.
martini adverts in between because we got them all off of Channel 4. I think he made his own VHS cases for them. It was genuinely like dad vibes.
That's and when we say I sat through this movie, I had nothing else to do. Another peek behind the curtains. We're spoiling you today. I watched this movie from 3 a.m. to about 5 a.m. on the train platform at Exeter St. David's while it was bitterly cold and pouring with rain because I was coming back home from Brighton and refused to get an earlier train.
Perfect.
That's
the perfect time, place, and climate to watch this movie and become totally deranged.
The ideal mindset.
That's
I've got to be
right.
honest, I don't think it improved it.
All right, so this movie has a cold open to start with. And the cold open is, hey, you remember from Goldfinger, the observes things that are happening, stimulus response gangsters?
Yes.
Some of our favorite dudes. One of them survived, apparently.
And he's in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
He's the same guy.
He's one of Morton Slumber's goons. They got a mob goon, and this mob goon has been invited to the private island of Francisco Scaramanga, who is an international hitman. And we think at first that he's being paid to kill him. His butler Knick-Knack offers him this envelope full of cash. It's like half now, half later. And he tells him, if you kill Scaramanga, I get everything. I inherit all of this island. And our gangster is sort of pursued through a funhouse setup, which Scaramanga
He's
just
Joker
has.
shit.
Yeah,
He's got Joker
Joker-fied.
shit in his house for
He
no
really
reason.
does. He really does. He's got like he turns a corner with a gun and then the lights go off and there's like a laughing sound effect. A sort of a statue of Al Capone slides out and like sprays blank machine gun fire everywhere.
It's like a weird Disneyland hitman rail shooter thing.
Yeah,
that this
yeah.
mobster is being pushed through.
Scaramanga has a private island in the South China Sea with exactly 3 inhabitants, which is himself, his heterosexual life partner, Knick-Knack.
Oh, they have a great
and just Woman, who is also present.
Yeah, woman is present. He and Knick-Knack have a very weird sort of like, it's almost a little bit like Clouseau and Kato, but it's also a little bit kink. Here is that, like, you see Knick-Knack observing this gangster who is trying to kill Scaramanga go through the rooms and observing Scaramanga trying to avoid him. And, like, sort of almost taunting his boss, like, it's not going to be that easy because I've made it that little bit harder for you. Okay, so the penny slowly drops that Scaramanga is like he himself has arranged this as like a live fire training exercise. He's got this goon, this mobster, to try and kill him, and he of course succeeds and turns the tables on him, and Scaramanga shoots him with a strange golden pistol.
It's very cool looking.
Yeah,
It's very cool looking. It's like squarish.
Our impression thus far is that Scaramanga is a guy who hires people to try to kill him in order to improve, only to kill them via like an extended series of sight gags and bits.
yeah, he basically does Saw stuff, but only to hitmen.
He also has, within this funhouse arrangement, a perfect like wax model of Roger Moore, James Bond.
Mm.
Yes.
With the fucking handout position shooting.
And at the end of this sequence, taking us into the opening credits, he does a trick shot where he shoots every single finger off of Bond's hand. Which
It's very cool.
it's very cool.
Was kind of cool. Yeah.
It also needs to be noted that Scaramanga is played by Christopher Lee, and he is very good at acting.
Christopher Lee.
He's so good in this film.
I'm going to be doing Christopher Lee voice for the rest of this episode.
Legendary
I fucking
actor.
love Christopher Lee, man. Not least because the role which he's playing here of extremely competent professional killer was like, he did that in the Second World War. That was his job.
Yeah.
Unlike
No, this is a man who killed Nazis. for
unlike
real.
Fleming, who was like some fucking naval intelligence dipshit, right? Who just wrote about this stuff. Christopher Lee was fully the like parachuting in behind occupied lines thing. There's a story about him on Lord of the Rings where he was giving tips to Peter Jackson on what it was like to stab a sentry to death quickly because he had actually done it and nobody else had. And just and a great actor on top of all of that. So
he's very good in this film.
Christopher Lee carries this movie by himself.
He does.
Lee.
There's one scene in particular I want to highlight later when we get to it.
Oh, we'll get to it.
Puts him in the running with Vladek Shebal's Kronsteen as the Bond villains who have killed the most Nazis in real life.
that is true. Yeah, killing Nazis in real life makes you cooler and better at acting, is what we're learning. So
That's my secret.
That's why I've always sucked.
So we then cut to M's office, where Bond sort of smugly glides in.
Wait, no, we have a fucking theme tune.
Oh boy.
An amazing
I
theme
glossed
song.
over this
Okay.
because he'll bang anyone.
Absolute miss of a
He
theme
will
song.
bang anyone. That is a lyric in there.
I was gotten up and left. Because I said the theme song's an absolute miss.
It really is.
It serves the purpose. It big Scaramanga, and it still somehow manages to fit the title in.
The man with the golden gun.
And lyrics I flagged up as particularly notable are the couplet, "He'll shoot anyone with his golden gun." And that's like extended like strikes like Thunderball was.
Oh, yeah.
You'll shoot anyone.
The theme song to this one is
golden
probably
gun. It's
the
like-
most that they've whiffed it until the Brosnan years, I think.
It's a hell
What do you
of a
mean?
song.
What do you mean whiffed it?
It's not good.
Shit.
It's not good, Abigail.
What's wrong with you? I like it.
What are you talking about?
It has the line, "He'll bang anyone with his golden gun," and it tells us the other thing it tells us about Francisco
He'll shoot.
He'll
Scaramanga.
shoot anyone.
Well, there's a bang in
He'll
there
shoot
too.
anyone with his golden
There's a
gun.
bang in there too.
It's $1 million.
Will he bang? We shall see. But also, it's one of the most fun ones to play on
Love
saxophone.
is required.
Whenever
there
he's
is-
hired.
Yeah, that's the other thing that this theme song tells us about Francisco Scaramanga, international hitman, is that he fucks, but only before he kills someone for money.
He needs the post-nut clarity.
That's exactly
Professional
right.
athletes
That's
do the same
actually so
thing, as
smart.
Bond points out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're doing the same thing
that's
to
what
record
Dad
this
does
podcast.
before podcasting.
That's
Hey,
right. Hey, let's go. Here we are, baby. No, I slammed some monsters before recording.
Nice.
I like the
Energy
theme
drink of the
song.
show.
Whatever. So, but Bond comes into M's office, and M is there with two boffins, and they tell Bond that someone has put out a contract on his life. MI6 has received a golden bullet with 007 engraved on it. And this is a death threat to Bond from Scaramanga. And M does the usual sort of, what do you know about Scaramanga 007? And Bond tells him, an international assassin, killer for hire. You grew up in a circus.
$1 million a contract?
$1 million a contract. Trained by the KGB, but works freelance.
Nobody knows what he looks like. The only thing we know about him physically.
The only thing that we know about him physically.
But he does have one distinguishing feature, however. A superfluous papilla.
What?
A mammary gland. A third nipple, sir.
Sure. Okay.
This is one of an absolute classic line of scenes which just goes along the lines of M going, "So, Bond, what's this guy's deal?"
They really
and Bond going, "Ah, yes, sir. Let me tell you this man's
they
deal
really
in immaculate detail."
Rely on they flattened Bernard Lee's character down to just his incredulity, which he does very well. He's like, I hate this piece of shit who
He's
works
so
for
mad.
me. There's genuinely a bit later where they find out that I'm skipping ahead a bit, but that Bond wasn't Scaramanga's target, and M just fully says,
I almost wish that Scaramanga had a contract on you.
"Ah, you piece of shit. You fucking asshole. You dupe, you moron."
I mean, at the end of the scene in question here, he straight up is just like, 007, this guy's gonna kill you. Best of luck. And Bond just goes to leave.
Fuck off.
Yeah, he tells him to lie low, and Bond is like, "What, until he kills me?" And the guys and Emma's like, "I guess."
It's like, maybe.
Am I gonna get any kind of protective custody?
I don't
Nope.
really have a horse in this race, 007. I don't care if you
Buddy,
die.
not only does this guy know what you look like, he has a perfect wax sculpture of you. You are
Yeah, he
fucked.
made that off of the Spectre thing that just perfectly 3D prints masks of
3D
James
prints
Bond.
There's also a funny bit where Bond asks, who would pay $1 million to have me killed? And M has this hilarious bit where he says, jealous husbands, outraged chefs, humiliated tailors. The list is endless. And I'm like, well, jealous husbands, yes, I understand, but chefs?
You're a huge piece of shit to everyone around you, Bond. What was he doing to chefs?
I have no fucking idea. Like, imagine he's going into like a 5 Michelin star. 5 Michelin stars doesn't exist. Sorry, I combined
You
5
could
stars
get
and
5
3
Michelin stars. You have to be a
Michelins.
really good restaurant.
I don't think
but-
anyone has.
No, I think 3 is the current maximum, but you can have 5.
3. Yeah, 3.
But
is
yeah,
the
he's
max.
going into a 5 Michelin star restaurant. And he's being like, this is reminiscent of a 37 Musa. He's just drunk off his ass and just like talking absolute nonsense to the waiters.
Yeah, Roger Moore's Bond has 3 important character traits. One is that he is a fucking sex pest, which is just a Bond character trait. Second is he has eyebrows. And 3 is he knows everything about everything and won't ever shut the fuck up about the things he knows.
Autism Bond!
He just like talks about things all the time.
Yeah, Roger Moore's Bond is Asperger's coded, and that's why you don't like him.
Shut up. There's like a scene, and again, I'm skipping. This is Scaramanga showing Bond around the fucking place, and Bond is just saying shit like, this beam must reach 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Exactly.
And Scaramanga's literally just saying shit like, if you say so.
You know better than I
He's like,
do.
I don't care, dog.
So Bond goes to Moneypenny and is like, okay, well, who else do we know that's been killed by Francisco Scaramanga? 002, who was killed in
Beirut, 69.
Don't know why I pulled that one. But the reason they couldn't prove it was Scaramanga was because they never found the golden bullet that he was killed with. And so Bond immediately goes to Beirut and sees it as a navel piercing on a belly dancer. She's wearing it. She's belly dancing.
Well, it's established that 002
Fucked.
was this that he fucked, and that he was with this woman when he was killed.
Yeah.
He was in the back of a taxi when he was like shot with this golden bullet. And Bond finds her.
This is one of those things where it's like, we said instantly, I need you to fucking imagine, like, the scene transition was Moneypenny saying, they never found the bullet, and then it just, like, fades to literally the bullet just
in her navel.
this woman's navel. It's the easiest possible answer. He just solved it off
Yeah.
screen.
Well, I will say that one thing this film does certainly better than previous ones, especially Diamonds Are Forever, is I understand where Bond is going and why.
It gets it going.
It's like a logical progression of like, well, we need to find the bullet. Okay, we've found the bullet. What does that mean? We need to find where the bullet was made. So we go there, and then like I understand what is happening in this film.
This movie still isn't from a time where pacing has been invented, but it gets off the like standing start better than a lot of other
Writing
movies.
has though.
Ooh,
Writing has been invented.
Somewhat.
So Bond tries to get the bullet off of this woman by just like complimenting her in a sex pest kind of way and then taking it. And she's like, no, that's my lucky charm. I need it.
Yeah, he goes into her dressing room and it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
So then his next move is to, I guess, attempt to covertly take it while feigning that he's going to eat her pussy. He like kneels down in front of her and he like, it kind of takes it off with his mouth.
Well, he's about to do it, but then goons attack and like hit goons attack for who it's
There
never
is
really
no
established who they are
reason
or
for
why.
these goons.
Just some
it's
guys.
just big
But
dudes.
goons attack and it jumps into his mouth and he swallows
Yeah,
it.
three podcaster-looking dudes attack him. They have a massive fight. Roger Moore is still a terrible fighter. It's just not in his repertoire at all. They're doing all sorts of like fast cuts to make it seem like he's moving quickly, and he's not. Guys are getting pushed into walls and stuff. But Bond escapes with like sort of a bloodied mouth and having swallowed this golden bullet. Where this isn't shown, right? The next scene is we're back in Q's lab analyzing this bullet, but it's very heavily implied that he has had to like either vomit or more likely shit this bullet out.
Yeah, because he gets into a taxi and the taxi driver's like, airport, and he says no, to the nearest pharmacy. And it's like, it's implied that Bond be shitting, and it's kind of a rare moment of indignity for him.
He's either...
Because he also says, you've no idea what that bullet's been through to get here, like, implying it, his guts, like...
Yeah, I picked this bullet out of my shit, and that would have been a more, like, oh god, edifying scene of Bond just picking through the shit for this bullet. You know, oh god.
Gillian McKeith has been hired to analyze your stool sample.
That's a niche, Paul.
So Q looks at this bullet through a microscope and says some nonsense, right? But like the upshot of this nonsense is it's only ever going to be one way. There's only one place this bullet could have come from, and we're 100% certain of it. And the place that it could have come from is Macau, where there is a jeweler called Lazar who makes these kind of like imaginative gadgets. He's like a freelance Q. And so Bond immediately just like I say, there's no like transitions here at all. It's just scene.
Yeah, he teleports to Macau.
Like goes up to a family eating rice and is like, does Lazar live here, in English? And then they just look at him and he says, does Lazar live here, in like English but slower? And at this point I remembered that Bond...
Instant Japanese. You may need it.
You forget I took a first in Oriental languages at Cambridge.
Has forgotten that shit immediately.
You get a little thing that I can only refer to as like Bond theme Mysterious East Edition, which is just like the Bond leitmotif played on a goose hang.
Yeah.
It's just
terrible.
But that little exchange lends credence to my theory that Sean Connery and George Lazenby are meant to be the same man, but Roger Moore is supposed to be a different guy entirely.
I believe this.
So Bond, Lazar finds Bond and invites him into his workshop and is very like jovial. He's like, it would be an honor to make something for you. He shows off his newest piece, which is a hunting rifle made for a man who lost 2 fingers. And Bond observes that it doesn't have a trigger, which Lazar points out is
in the butt. Squeeze it. Not.
I'm so glad you brought that.
Yeah, I figure it's going to be useful for
the butt. Squeeze it.
In the butt. Squeeze it.
A man comes.
By the end of this, we're just going to have a full episode that we can just do via drops.
Yeah, the final episode will just be drops, yeah.
Bond demands to know where these where Scaramanga is, because he's made these golden bullets for him. And Lazaro's like, I can't tell you because, like, I'm a craftsman and, confidentiality is my thing. And Bond threatens to shoot him in the dick and he gives him up instantly.
That's Bond's pretty much, it's his only move in this film is like, tell me what I need to know. No, well then I will threaten you with violence.
Yeah, and specifically the kind of violence that he's threatening him with is he points this gun at his dick and, like, fires a round out of it because he had previously observed that it was hitting like an inch too low. And so he just shoots between this guy's legs.
Cock and ball torture.
So he learns that the golden bullets are delivered to a casino where a woman picks them up. He follows that woman to Hong Kong.
This is the greatest moment of Bond's life, is when a case requires him to tail a woman. Like, you can see he's almost got a spring in his step the second he realizes he's going to be able to do sex.
You know what they
shit.
say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Bond gets to hang out in a casino stalking a woman. That's all he's ever wanted.
Yeah, and he'd be doing it for free if MI6 didn't employ him. This is what he'd be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Well, he's sort of doing this off the books anyway.
Basically.
Yeah, fair point.
So Bond arrives in Hong Kong, whereupon he is immediately met by Mary Goodnight, another British agent, and no thoughts, head empty. Is the best description I can think. Dumbest female character in a Bond movie thus far, including, like, Dr. No. Easily.
Our girl in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
To be clear, we're not criticizing her for being dumb. She was written by a man.
Yeah,
like,
and
the
way that she is written is bimbo. There is nothing going on up here. And she and Bond are kind of established as, like, kind of old flame sort of thing.
Similar to Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Like a flirtation ship.
And she, like, sort of pretends to be exasperated with him because of his awful personality and the terrible things that he does, but actually quite likes it, which is, again, we just accidentally trained a generation of men to believe that every time a woman is exasperated with something you do, she secretly likes it. So she is useful, though, because she sort of, like, interrupts Bond following this woman, Andrea, in a green Rolls Royce, and he gets quite frustrated. And she just offhandedly goes, "Oh, a green Rolls Royce, that's a courtesy car from the Peninsula Hotel," and takes him there. Receives precisely no thanks for this. And then we get to the scene that's going to make Devon blow out the microphone by yelling. And also the scene that when I was watching this through for the second time to go and pull the audio drops from it, I got to this and it depressed me so badly I gave up and went back to bed. Bond breaks into this woman's hotel room, catches her in the shower at gunpoint.
Yeah, sorry. Let me issue an apology. This is the greatest moment of Bond's life, is when the woman he's tailing is inexplicably naked and he's alone with her.
Yes. Absolute danger. She, however, pulls a gun on him as she gets out of the shower.
The correct response to finding James Bond in your room is to point a fucking gun at him.
Gunpoint and fucking wait for the police to arrive. Yeah, 100%. But so she walks him out, and he just, like, he's doing non-shit, basically. He's going through her stuff even while he's at gunpoint. He finds these golden bullets, which are concealed in a little cigarette case. And she's like, "Give those back." And as he does, he kicks the gun out of her hand, throws her across the bed, and tries to break her arm until she tells him, I don't even know what information he wants at this point. He's just...
where is Scaramanga? This is the second movie in a row where a female character tells James Bond, "If I tell you this information, he will kill me." And Bond is like, "I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not going to help you get out of this situation." He's like, "I don't care. Like, I'm going to hurt you now unless you tell me."
Yeah, which he does, like, quite a lot. He
does hurt her.
He damn near breaks her arm, and then he, like, slaps her several times.
Quite viciously.
Oh, yeah. And the whole time, he's sort of, like, keeping up the kind of, like, Roger Moore smarminess levels, which is a tremendously unsettling combination, right? Because like
he's getting off on this.
Yeah. Because like this feels like it was written for a Connery Bond, and a Connery Bond would have been just absolutely uncomplicatedly sadistic here, whereas with the kind of like, and I'm doing air quotes here, charm that Roger Moore is supposed to be doing here, it really lends an air of menace to it that I don't think anybody intended it to have, but watched now makes it very, very, very uncomfortable.
I mean, I'm guessing what Roger Moore was going for is he was like trying to keep the tone light and not go for that Connery sadism, but it backfires and just makes it seem like he's enjoying it.
Roger Moore claimed later on that he didn't want to shoot this scene, that he didn't like it, that he thought that Bond should have just charmed this information out of her. And you could say that that's like an attempt on his part to like sort of salvage a bit of reputation from this later on, but I tend to believe him just because it's so out of line with his sort of like the way in which he's playing against type here, and it's really weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there's like an essay to be written entirely about this scene, which is just that play for play, Bond enters a woman's room, threatens her nonstop. She pulls a gun on him and like orders him turn around, stop looking at me, like bring me that towel so I can cover myself up. And he treats these threats with a level of seriousness approaching like a joke.
Yeah.
He genuinely, like, character-wise, he straight up does not believe that she would hurt him. And then he beats her, extorts her, even mocks the information she gives him. Because she says at some point about the 3 nipples, and he says some shit like, that's the least useful information you could possibly have given me, and then he hits her again afterwards.
And that's the information that you gave your boss, dude.
This is a masterclass in writing a character that feels nothing for women but absolute contempt.
It's also a very strange scene because, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but later in the film it is revealed that Scaramanga did not send the threat to Bond. He doesn't really know all that much about Bond other than like he respects him as a fellow murderer. And it is, in fact, Miss Anders who has been luring Bond in specifically in order to kill Scaramanga so she can leave him. And it's very weird that she, in this scene, does not mention that.
No.
She's just like, oh, thank God you're here, James Bond. I've been trying to contact you. For some reason, we don't learn that until later.
You know what it is?
So that we can get this torture scene in.
It's so that we can get the torture scene in, and also because, hey, guess what? It's Tom Mankiewicz again, our great friend. I feel like the philosophy here is you do one write of the script only. And once you've written it, you send that shit and you do not go back and look through for any inconsistencies whatsoever.
Yeah, having earlier praised the writing, I would now like to retract that opinion, having recognized that this scene does not make sense.
It do not make sense. However,
not even like a character level.
No. But Bond extracts by means of torture the fact that Scaramanga is going to be at a strip club in Kowloon called the Bottoms Up Club. And Bond tries to like lure him there by using this woman to like deliver the bullets. He also, for the first time in this movie, but not the last, gets immediately and instantly outplayed by Scaramanga, who is just like outside the club waiting. Bond goes in and we get a big tense scene as you think he's about to shoot Bond. He just shoots another guy next to Bond, who was his target. And the guy who he shoots is a scientist called Gibson, right? And Gibson has been working on a MacGuffin called the Solex Agitator, because this was made during the energy crisis. And in fact, there's a couple of great lines in there. M fully just says,
coal and oil will soon be depleted.
I wish. The only future is in solar energy, and this guy had a little device that was going to make that work.
It's like super efficient solar energy. This was also mentioned in the opening scene with M. It was said that Bond was working on trying to find this guy Gibson who's gone missing. And he's like, oh, that got interrupted by Scaramanga. And lo and behold, the guy that Scaramanga kills, with a perfect headshot from on top of a roof with a pistol, by the way, turns out to be Gibson.
Yeah, coincidentally, it all leads to the same place because, again, this movie is not well written.
Yeah. Nick Nack is also there. We see him doing something next to the corpse, but then Bond is arrested because, of course, as soon as the gunshot goes off, Bond pulls his gun out, and the police arrive, and they're like, "You're under arrest."
Yeah, but Bond is
you're nicked, mate.
Bond is arrested by
Chinese.
the again, still then at this point, Royal Hong Kong Police.
Sadly, it is not Agent
not
Fung Sing Ling.
Chinese.
Sadly, it's not Agent Fung Sing Ling from the man from Hong Kong. That would have been an astonishing crossover had he arrived and just beaten the shit out of James Bond.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have arrested him. Fung Sing Ling would have shown up and put him through a storefront immediately.
This 00 section's got a small population, and he's getting through him fast. So they put him on a boat.
He gets arrested.
Yeah, they put him on a boat, and they're like, "We're going to take you across to Kowloon." And Bond, quite reasonably, is just like, "I was just on Kowloon." And they say, "We're going to take you to the new territories." It's like, "Well, Kowloon's in the new territories." And as they do, they go past the wreckage of the Queen Elizabeth, which sank in Hong Kong Harbor a few years before this movie was made. It was like a fire broke out after it had left service as Queen Elizabeth. It was sort of like an insurance scam arson deal, and it just rolled over in Hong Kong Harbor and just sat there rusting because it was too big to move.
Welcome back to Well, There's Your Problem,
That's
a podcast
right.
about engineering disasters with slides. So cut in with this scene is a little scene that I want to mention, in which there's no dialogue, which is Scaramanga and Nick Nack getting back from his mission. He goes back. He's got a little junk, like a boat in Hong Kong, in Hong Kong Harbor, Hong Kong Harbor, and he gets back, and his beautiful naked girlfriend Miss Anders is waiting for him in the bed, and Christopher Lee's acting in this is so good. He has no lines, but his physical acting, like the way that he walks back onto the boat after he's completed a mission, like with his chin in the air, when he gets back and his girlfriend is there and like she has the blankets up around her neck and he like takes out the golden gun and like moves the blankets down with the barrel of the gun. He's so good. Like even just shots where you just see his hands, his physical acting is so good in this film. And this is going to come back later on.
Yeah, you see why Christopher Lee was so good at doing like Hammer horror movies, right? He's got a great sort of physical presence, and even though it's turned to sort of a slightly different end here, it's very, very effective. But yeah, so Bond takes his chance as the boat goes past to jump from the police boat onto the wreck of the Queen Elizabeth.
Well. he does such a thing with a level of urgency approaching like mild peril.
Yeah.
He's under two armed guards and he throws a life ring at one and then just sort of steps off the boat a little faster than normal. Like it's not like he's trying to escape. He's just like, well, here's my stop.
He moves like a man doing a night shoot.
Yeah,
yeah, he fucking does.
Which he is.
Yeah. And the second that he steps onto the boat, a tannoy comes on, and it's like, welcome aboard, Commander Bond. Because they were fucking taking him here anyway. It's like a bit of subterfuge. You didn't have to throw a life ring at a guy and then kick him into the harbor or whatever.
At least he didn't just kill him.
Oh, that's true. The wreck of the Queen Elizabeth is MI6's Hong Kong headquarters. And it's quite imaginative what they've done with the place. Like the whole thing is like canted over to one side, but then the rooms have been like sort of rebuilt at the correct angle.
I guess they also got rid of the submarine from the 3 movies ago.
There's one submarine.
Is there anything in Hong Kong Harbor that isn't MI6 headquarters?
No.
No. Thanks for coming. It genuinely is just like Hong Kong, Macau, Shenzhen, Zhuhai. All of these are just like equidistant to this one boat. So it is quite smart, actually. Yeah. I'm almost going to give them credit for this.
We then see like that the cop who arrested Bond and like put him on this boat to take him there anyway, Lieutenant Hip, is also a British Secret Service agent. So, Bond, just fucking wait a second and you wouldn't have had to have done all of that shit. Anyway.
Also we should probably flag about the ship. since it's tipped over, the entire internals are at like a 45-degree angle, and they've just refloored it. It's genuinely a very imaginative set because they're walking through doors that are like at a 45-degree angle. It's very, very good.
Fantastic. So M berates both Lieutenant Hip and Bond. This is where he drops the "I wish you'd been strangled as a child" Bond line.
Yeah, because the fact that Gibson is dead, they're like, well, at least we got the Solex, right? And Lieutenant Hip is like, he showed it to me in the bar, and then after he died, it wasn't there. Like, it's gone.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, fuck, you've completely screwed the pooch. Both of you fucking tools.
And we see it being stolen as well. Nick Nack walks over to the corpse and just, like, fiddles with it for a bit, and Hip's like, oi, you, leave that corpse alone. And Nick Nack just leaves, and he doesn't feel the need to flag that up at all.
We've seen Nick Nack since the first scene, right?
Yes.
And Nick Nack is Scaramanga's butler, valet, manservant. And he's played by Hervé Villechaize, right? Who is we have to get into some terminology here. Because
we're going to say the word. This is the podcast where we say the word.
We say the fucking word. We're going to say the word. Because Hervé Villechaize insisted all his life, but especially on this movie, that the way in which you describe him was midget, right? He was like 3 feet 11 inches tall. And I think now you would say little person. Not sure.
Yeah, I think this is a word. Certainly, I have had little people as friends who have said, "Hey, like that's not a cool word. You shouldn't call us that. Like little people is the word." But Hervé Villechaize, he insisted on being called that. So
yeah, and so
So we're saying the word, baby.
We are saying the words.
We got the pass.
Yeah, and
we got the M pass, baby.
If you think that this movie is going to miss an opportunity to like make fun of Hervé Villechaize for his height, then you've not been paying attention to the previous episodes of this podcast.
Go back and listen to him again.
He does a good job as Nick Nack. He's good.
Yeah, he's like really put upon.
Yeah, apparently filming this film was the highlight of his life, unfortunately. He had quite a sad life.
Yeah, he was living out of his car in Los Angeles when they cast him for this. And there is a story that the reason that they cast him for this is because he went to his agent's office with a knife and made them do it.
Yeah.
Now there is one.
That's one way to get parts.
There is one thing that I think is very telling, which is that Hervé Villechaize and Christopher Lee remained close friends for the rest of Villechaize's life. Not so him and Roger Moore could not find anything about their friendship. Which that tells me kind of a lot that I need to know about Christopher Lee, but also about Roger Moore, you know?
Yeah, and sadly that wasn't very long. Sadly, Hervé killed himself at the age of 50 because of chronic health problems. But yeah, he did do a good job in this film, and was apparently quite a complicated person and became somewhat difficult to work with later in life. But anyway, he does a very good job in this as Nick Nack.
Yeah. So he has stolen the Solex agitator out of Gibson's pocket as he has been killed. And so Bond is like, Bond is like, well, maybe I have an idea about how to do this. And M is just still like, I'm going to go back in time and have you shaken as a baby, 007.
Yeah, I flagged this up. Bond literally just says the line, he like goes to walk away and then turns around and goes, a thought occurs to me, sir. Which is just like, Bond's about to pull the entire second half of this movie out of his ass right now.
Yes.
All right,
well, we've established that Gibson was working with a Chinese multimillionaire called High Fat.
Yes.
Who's like a big energy. He's a big energy guy. So we've heard of him. And then Bond says, well, somebody must have paid $1 million to have Gibson killed. And like, who's the nearest millionaire?
Yeah. We're in Asia. Where else is in Asia? Bangkok.
Well, it's kind of like
Asia.
It's kind of like cui bono. Like who benefits from Gibson being killed? Well, presumably the guy who knew all about his research and could afford $1 million. So they said, well, we need to investigate High Fat, and in order to do this, Bond poses as Scaramanga, thinking that he's probably never met.
Yeah, nobody knows what Scaramanga looks like. The only thing that they know about him is the third nipple thing. And so Bond's plan is he's weirdly coy about it, right? Because he goes to Q and he like writes on Q's notepad and he's like, I'm going to need one of these. And Q is like, a really 007.
You won't be allowed in the Pride Parade with this 007.
Oh, I admit it's a little kinky.
Oh, I admit it's a little
gets
kinky.
It's very good in the Bond literally just hands Q a note that just says, need that
Third
triple nipple.
Yeah, need the trip nip.
Yo, Q, can you fucking hook me up with a triple nipple? And Q's like,
really, 007.
007. Children might be walking past the compound and might not consent to seeing us.
007, honestly, there are spaces where this is appropriate.
Save it for the after party, 007.
Yeah. So Bond and Hip go to.
I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Bond and Hip go to Bangkok.
Perish then.
Go to Bangkok, which is again like next door to Macau and also Hong Kong. And
people always say shit like, I'm going to die on this hill, but they never have the common decency to actually die.
Except in wars. A lot of people dying on hills and those. Anyway.
Beep the last 2 words of that sentence. Thank you.
Bond.
Moving on.
But Bond just hops the fence into Hai Fat's compound, which is a very nice ornamental garden that's actually in Hong Kong. He sees a naked woman in the swimming pool, and she's like, come on in, the water's fine. And as he's doing his usual sort of nonce act of, you are Miss... And she says her name is Chew Me, right? And
she is not in any subsequent scene. She is just there as a prop.
Voiced by the same woman who voices like every miscellaneous hot girl in Bond movies.
Really?
Chew
oh
me.
no!
Yep.
Chew Me. This is the bit that Austin Powers was playing off with "fuck me" and "fuck you."
Yes.
Chew me. Fuck off.
Fuck off. So Bond is like, oh, well, I shall have to take my shirt off. You know, he takes off the top of one of the fucked safari suits that Roger Moore insists on wearing in every movie he does, along with the cigars. That's like his Bond thing, is I'm going to wear a fucking safari suit. He takes off the top of his safari suit, and as he does so, he is detected by Hai Fat's goons.
Okay, I'll be honest. I have some sympathy for this because at any social gathering, I also take the first possible opportunity to get my shirt off.
Yeah, Hai Fat's goons hold him at gunpoint, but then Hai Fat, who is like gonna be like, "Who are you?" sees the third nipple and is immediately like, "Ah, Mr. Scaramanga, I thought we were never supposed to meet." What he says to him afterwards is very funny.
I always thought your abnormality was a myth. There are cults where it is considered a sign of invulnerability and great sexual prowess. I've learned to live with it.
It's a horny movie.
Weird?
It's a weird, horny movie. There's too much horny around here.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Bond posing as Scaramanga asks Hai Fat to put out a hit on Bond.
Yeah, he hypes himself up a little bit. He's like, Bond, James Bond, he's the best. Even on my level. He knows too much. You got to kill him.
Got a huge dick.
Yeah.
He's like 007, Secret Service, License to Kill. James Bond, he's got a meaty cock and an ass that don't quit. You're gonna have to kill him.
My favorite detail here is that he goes immediately between very few people don't know who James Bond is to British Secret Service, which great, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I've actually got a mannequin of him in my house for some reason.
For normal reasons.
Hai Fat says like, all right, fine, come back for dinner later and I'll think about it. And as Bond is leaving, we see that he has once again been effortlessly outplayed by Scaramanga, who has been watching him through binoculars the whole time. And also owns a much nicer safari suit. Like, it really makes Bond's safari suit look like a piece of shit.
Scaramanga is fucking grinning as he lowers the binoculars. It's so good. He's like, oh, I love this fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's like, I fucking got his ass.
I am gonna fucking kill this guy later and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, Scaramanga, the thing that Christopher Lee really plays up about him is he loves killing. He loves it. And like he kind of really comes by that honestly, you know. It's like I mean, we'll get to that later.
And High Fat goes up to Scaramanga and he's like, "This fucking dipshit." And Scaramanga's like, "I know."
Scaramanga has not worked a day in his life. By God, he loves his job.
Yeah. So
who? I mean, we can all we can all aspire to live like this man.
Yeah.
He loves his job. He lives on a private island with his heterosexual life partner,
right.
just doing
And a
bits
smoking
all the
hot
time.
woman. He swims in the sea. He's got a Joker shit fun house.
he's having a great time.
He loves it.
So I have the next 20 minutes of this movie blocked out in my notes as, hey, you heard of Kung Fu movies? Because
Yeah, there's a long section
Oh
here.
boy, have we heard of Kung Fu?
the makers of this movie, like, this is the thing, right? Especially in the Roger Moore years, the Bond movies are so directionless that it's just fully bandwagon. Live and Let Die.
Mm-hmm.
What's popular at the moment? Blaxploitation movies. So we'll do a Blaxploitation movie with James Bond. What's popular right now? Kung Fu movies. We'll do a Kung Fu movie.
They're still doing this now. They're still like Spectre is just the Avengers but Bond.
Special Agent Fong Sing-ling.
Moonraker.
York
What's
Spe-
popular
York.
right now?
Oh.
Star Wars. We'll do a Star Wars Bond. So Bond goes to dinner, escorted by Lieutenant Hip and his two nieces, his two like school-age nieces.
His two nieces, who, by the way, are speaking entirely disparate languages to each
They're
other.
speaking Thai.
Really?
They're speaking Thai and Cantonese, or rather, one of them is speaking.
they're both
one of them is
subtitled
speaking
as,
Thai,
like-
or one of them is speaking Cantonese.
And they're holding a conversation.
Listen,
That's cool.
the East is one
It's so
place, right? We are in.
Also, High Fat's garden has sumos in it.
Yes.
We're in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
As soon as Bond goes in to like Asialand, the theme park, the fucking sumo wrestlers grab him, and Knick Knack, who is like dressed as, I don't even know what he's dressed as, a lawn ornament.
The devil,
Yeah.
but also a gnome.
Like gets him at the
Yeah.
point of a pitchfork, and High Fat does the classic Bond villain move. No, don't kill him here. Put him in an easily escapable situation.
No, don't
Yeah.
just kill him now that you've got him knocked out and are literally
I
standing there with a
don't
pitchfork.
want you to
Instead,
get blood in my garden. I live here. And I also don't want you to like put him in the back of a car, take him 2 streets over and shoot him. I want you to take Mr. Bond to school.
Yeah, they
Take him
sent
to
him.
my
They sent
fucking
him
kung
to
fu
a
school.
martial arts school that
Now,
High Fat owns, and I have written "why" in brackets.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
I believe the
And
script.
Bond's getting like attended as well while
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
there. Like they're not even just like not killing him; they're actively
Yeah.
giving him a
the,
lovely
the
time.
script actually refers to this as a karate arena. Just
That's not a
Okay.
thing, and they're not doing that.
doing
So
some karate
Bond-
in Thailand.
Bond wakes up being massaged by all these ladies. He wakes up, he's been put in a gi in this karate arena.
Yeah.
He watches 2 martial arts students sword fight to the death. Again, I have written "why" in brackets.
Hmm.
And then he is invited to fight the school's tough guy. And
Yeah,
he
the school's
cheats.
mini boss. As they're
Yeah.
bowing to each other, Bond like just hits him instead.
Yeah, so
Almost
we,
like
we
kicks him fully in the
surmise that the plan is that Bond will have an accident while he's at this school and will be kind of karate arena'd to death, and that'll be how they get rid of him.
Again, the other thing here is that Roger Moore cannot fight. Like Sean Connery,
No.
Sean Connery had a light attack, a heavy attack, and a grapple. George Lazenby, as we saw in Man from Hong Kong, fucking could roundhouse kick a guy.
Yeah,
He could.
But Roger Moore does not. And I want you to imagine
he's doing a dialogue-only build.
what we were robbed of here was Lazenby staying on as Bond, because with Lazenby in it, this scene, while stupid, could still have been fun to watch because we would have seen him kick a man in the face, right?
Yeah,
But instead, you have to go to 0 budget, like Hong Kong movies for that. Instead, what we get is like Roger Moore kind of like slaps a guy a couple of times and then escapes by jumping through a window.
yeah, he does a share zone and he just leaves.
If
He just
it
runs
sucks,
away.
hit the bricks. You can just leave.
So Roger Moore Bond cheats. He just kicks their guy in the head who's called like Tash or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And like it cuts to the old man in charge of the school who's watching, and he does everything except actively say dishonorable conduct.
Yeah.
And then he just like gestures to a guy next to him who is the only one there wearing a black gi, whose name is, and I'm looking this up, his name is Chula. And Chula is the cockiest bastard on planet Earth.
He rules.
He is James
genuinely,
Bond brackets time.
The floor with Roger Moore until Roger like distracts him and leaves.
Yeah, he just leaves.
He doesn't win the encounter in any way. He just goes.
Fight, item, run, and he picks run.
Really?
And so the entire karate arena school chases after Bond. Bond, of course, then conveniently runs into Lieutenant Hip and his two nieces. Because they know karate, because they're Asian.
Of course, all Asian people know martial arts.
People know martial arts.
It's really like a wow, Bond. I can't believe you've underestimated these two schoolgirls. You fucking sexist sort of moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is maybe the one thing he's done here that is somewhat understandable. Is not assuming these women would know perfect kung fu.
They're wearing school uniforms, right? So like as the various like dudes like square up, he like gets in front of them and he like pushes them back, and they just move in front of him and effortlessly destroy these guys.
If you like watching schoolgirls do kung fu, then
and everybody in Britain at this point did, because nonce country. Anyway,
and Moore wasn't literally Moore didn't do anything in that scene either. Like he literally it's just shots of him looking from side to side, intercut with like everyone else. Literally everyone was kung fu fighting, and just Moore looking from side to side. Apart from Cholo, who just isn't.
Yeah. So they like escape into the klongs, the canals of Bangkok. There's a boat. There's another boat chase.
I'm going to continue to interrupt you. As they leave, they play this fucking classic trumpet sting to let you know that some Bond shit has just happened. Like, just to close the scene out. They're like, wasn't that Bondy? And you're like, no, not really.
And then, like, Hip and the girls drive away and they leave him behind.
Yeah.
And so
we fucked up our rescue a little bit.
Yeah, like,
why did
he's
they
running
do
after
that?
the car.
Why did
He's
they
running
do
after
that?
the car.
I'd completely forgotten that they did that, but yeah, they just leave his ass behind.
But we also, I don't think we see them again.
No,
they just sort of drive away.
They're just like, oh, fuck this guy. Sick of this James Bond shit. We get a spinning silver Inspector Hit.
Assess that he doesn't know kung fu, and then they're like, "Oh, fucking let him die then." And just
then perish.
Bond gets on a boat instead.
Yeah, he gets in a boat, and we get the usual fucking 2 in a row comedic boat chase. That's not a genre that needed to exist. The comedic boat chase.
And baby, you think that's the only thing they're bringing back from the last fucking movie?
Buddy.
They heard the audience crying out. They heard us saying, "Who do we want? We want Louisiana racism man."
Louisiana State Police.
He's back, baby.
We need him back.
He's back.
He's just here. He's
it's
in
our
the
favorite
Far East.
recurring character.
He is
on holiday with his annoying wife.
He is here. He is on vacation. He is being racist to everyone around him, and he will not stop.
He's in the Far East. He is doing nothing but denigrating their culture and calling them like shit, like triangle heads.
Yeah, he calls
I don't even understand the slurs that he's using.
He calls them pointy hats, right? Because of the like conical bamboo hat, right? Which is notably, and I did some research into this, not a thing in Thailand. The Thai,
I imagine he wouldn't.
Yeah,
know.
I know, but like people are wearing them, and like there's a stall of them. The Thai equivalent is called a nong, right. And it's like not even pointy. It looks like a big straw top hat. Kind of cool. Anyway,
that goes up.
Yeah. So Bond is like being chased in a boat, and a small child who is trying to hawk like wooden elephants to tourists hops on board and is trying to like hard sell Bond on buying this little elephant. And he's like, 100 baht, 80 baht, 60 baht. And Bond's engine is dying in the boat, and he goes, 20,000 baht if you fix this thing for me. Which the kid does. Like, Bond has not turned on the fuel intake valve. So the kid flicks a switch, and the boat starts again. And Bond goes, I'll have to owe you, and pushes the kid into the fucking canal.
Yeah, James Bond pushes a child into a river.
This is also, this is apparently the other scene that Roger Moore did not want to do.
Bond shit accomplished.
Child abuse.
Child drowned.
I mean, it is
Kid's
established
alive.
that this kid survives and is a good swimmer because he yells at Bond and calls him a bloody tourist. But James
Still,
Bond
though.
pushes a child into a river.
Yeah, James Bond owes
just
that
leave.
kid 20,000 baht.
The hero of the film pushes a child into a canal by the face.
This movie is
He just
so
pushes him
fucking
within the face.
racist, man.
Yeah.
Speechless. So, we cut back to Bond escapes, and we cut back to Scaramanga and High Fat just chatting, shooting the breeze, doing evil shit. And Scaramanga is told, okay, well, Bond has escaped, and you're no use to me anymore. And unlike every henchman Blofeld's ever had, when he receives the you are nothing to me, you're a dumb piece of shit, I'm gonna have you thrown into the piranha
He's checking
thing.
the chair to make sure it's not electrified.
He turns it around on High Fat. We see him fucking with stuff on High Fat's table. He's got a cigarette lighter and a cigarette case and a fountain pen, and they're all gold plated. And as High Fat is giving him the I have no more need of your services speech, he's just assembling one of those to another until he has the golden gun, the golden pistol, and he just just shoots High Fat dead with it.
I gotta be honest with you, man. I feel like having a golden pen, a golden cigarette case, a golden lighter, and a golden cufflink on you is not any less conspicuous than just having a gun.
Yeah, plus you've got to have
There's
the
a lot
bullets
going
somewhere.
on there.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-minute procedure to make this gun.
Yeah,
they do show
nobody
you it,
knows
and
what he
it's
looks like,
sick.
at least. I don't know.
They show you him assembling the gun, and it ticks the exact point in my brain that, as a child, used to play with Transformers
Oh, it's
toys.
cool.
I was like,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
Megazord.
It's
let's go.
the obvious toy for this movie, right, is the golden gun. And the toy that they made is a plastic Walther P38 cap gun spray painted yellow. So if you want to
Aw.
I know, right?
Well, the original golden gun, the actual prop, has been stolen. No one knows where it is.
Yeah, worth 80,000 quid, and it disappeared from the studios. Yeah,
Stolen from a warehouse.
but
But Scaramanga also takes the Solex.
he takes the Solex, and as High Fat's goons storm in, they see their boss dead, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm the boss now. I'm pretty sure this is how it works. Your boss has just resigned."
He's familiar with the Spectre strategy of just killing the guy ahead of you.
Yeah. Dead man's shoes, and so
Dead man's shoes.
he points to a mausoleum that High Fat had previously bragged about, and he's like, he was always fond of that. Put him in it. And it's like, fuck, Christopher Lee's such a good actor.
He's so good.
So fucking good, Christopher Lee. You get some more bullshit. We have Bond dining with Goodnight, which is a scene whose only memorable thing is that, first of all, that Mary Goodnight is no thoughts, head empty. Second of all, that wouldn't it be funny if there were an Asian champagne called Foo Yuck? They get a lot out of that joke.
Yeah.
Well, it's
God,
quite
they
fun
love
that
that joke.
Bond hits on Goodnight, and he's like, "Well, we don't really have anything to do tonight," and she shoots him down. She's like, "I'm not."
Yeah, I think
really
she doesn't want to be one of his passing fancies. However, remember what I
He
said?
also uses a slur. He uses the O slur, which is one of those weird ones that is
What?
completely unacceptable. And he uses a word beginning with O to describe
I'm not
the
even going to
East.
get you to tell. Oh, okay, fine, okay.
It's because it's
Fine.
completely unacceptable to say that in America, but in the UK, it's written on supermarket aisles.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird ones.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
So
he just
but
drops that.
remember what I said about this movie training an entire generation of men that when a woman says no, she means maybe, or yes, but later. Well, she says no, and then she shows up at his hotel room like, yeah, I changed my mind. I want to fuck now.
At this exact moment in the movie, I took 2 paracetamol tablets. Although I was on a train platform in the middle of the night, so the only liquid I had was Coca-Cola from a vending machine. Just to get a summary of where I was emotionally and mentally watching this fucking scene.
So they're fucking. Bond is putting the nonce moves on Mary Goodnight, and then Scaramanga's girlfriend Andrea knocks on the door, and Bond immediately is like, well, trading up to a new model. He throws a bunch of blankets and pillows over Goodnight, and then locks her in a closet to, like, presumably. It's established the period of time that she's in there is 2 hours. So to spend 2 hours listening to me fuck this woman, who is not you.
But Miss Sanders appears. My notes say amazing dress, clocky jawline. She does have an incredible jawline. But she reveals at this point that she is the one who sent the golden bullet. She wants Bond to kill Scaramanga. So she says to James Bond, like, I am sort of involved with the world's most dangerous assassin. I don't love him. He doesn't love me. He just fucks me so he can get the personal clarity to kill people. She says, I want to leave him, but obviously I can't just leave him because he's a murderer. So I need you to kill him. You're the only one who can do this. And she says, I will have sex with you if you do this.
Yeah.
And I feel like the nice thing to say would have been, you don't have to do that. You are clearly in a dangerous situation. But Bond is just like, yeah, all right.
Oh, no.
Bond's like, yeah, okay. If you
Bond was here.
Yeah, he would have said no.
Until she says that, Bond is just like displaying absolute contempt. He's just like, why don't you just leave him? And like, her previously stated objection is, he will murder me instantly.
It's also not even good spy shit, because Bond says, okay, if you have sex with me and also bring me the Solex, then I will help you. He doesn't say, okay, we will take you into protective custody. In exchange, tell us where Scaramanga is and we will go and arrest him now.
No.
Like, which would have been the sensible thing to do. No. But instead he's like, no. Go back into the danger. Go back into the lion's den after you suck this dick.
Well, that at least is like, realistic espionage. But...
Yeah, that's true. He's like, no. Listen, you are a woman. Your life is meaningless to me apart from making this dick come.
Yeah.
Not.
Do that and then go straight back into a danger zone and get me what I want.
That's right.
And then maybe we'll see what happens next. He doesn't even confirm that they would even help her past that point.
Yeah.
So,
which she tries to do.
She does. They arrange a meeting at a sort of a Mai Tai fight. We see.
But first.
Oh yeah, no.
First, we get a genuinely incredible scene, which I think is one of the saving bits of the film, which is that Miss Anders goes back to Scaramanga's junk, which is the name of the boat. And she takes the Solex. She takes the Solex out of the safe. There's only 4 lines in the whole scene where Scaramanga is like half asleep in bed, but his acting in this is so good. Like, he does the scene literally with his eyes closed, but it's even little things like he's sleeping in the middle of the bed. He doesn't leave room for his girlfriend to get in. He sleeps in the middle. Like, he does not give a shit about her. The way that he so coldly says, what are you doing? Where have you been? Like, he's so good.
She opens the safe and he asks her what she's doing, and she says, I'm putting my jewelry in. And we see that she has jewelry in there too, so it's not like a ridiculous lie. And he like seems to satisfy her that he is not suspicious, but also we know that he is, which is why it's so deftly acted.
Yeah, with like 4 lines. It's honestly, it's a masterclass.
You genuinely get like an amount of whiplash going from scenes where the main character in the scene is Roger Moore, James Bond, to going to like where the main character is fucking
Christopher Lee,
fucking Scaramanga, Christopher Lee Scaramanga, and it like. It's beautiful. Oh, he's so good.
They use it's not just about having an interesting villain with a gimmick, like he cries blood or he's got a scar or whatever. It's they use the villain in an interesting way and they show us a little bit of his life and they kind of let us in and show us why he is to be feared, and it's so good. He's almost a deuteragonist.
Yeah.
In that he's the first villain in one of these movies that genuinely doesn't like actually want to kill James Bond from the offset.
No. But Bond is like
he's
drawn
just
towards
like forced into it.
So they
he's just vibing.
Yeah. So Andrea agrees to meet Bond at a kickboxing like fight, right? He sits down next to her, and she's very still, right? And he is like, "Oh, did you bring the Solex agitator?" And she's still completely still and silent. And he looks over, and he sees that she has been shot dead, wearing white, which is like totally untarnished. There is like one small bullet hole. She is perfectly upright. She doesn't even really look shocked. She's just dead in her seat.
Straight through the heart.
And Scaramanga sits down next to Bond. Knick-Knack is behind him. He's got a little derringer on him.
And this is the first time that Bond has ever actually met Scaramanga. So he doesn't know that it's him when he sits down next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the line. Scaramanga does his own line back to Bond because he says, "My name is Scaramanga. Francisco Scaramanga." Like, he does the Bond James Bond thing.
Yeah.
And Bond like shits his fucking pants.
It is incredibly well done. And we get let into a bit more of Scaramanga here because Bond is like looking for the Solex agitator, which is gone, right? And Scaramanga is like, "I wouldn't bother. I looked first, and it was also missing." And he says of having killed Andrea that he is grateful to her for having been responsible for him meeting James Bond, and that it's an honor, and that it was a difficult shot but most gratifying. He's a guns guy, and he says this. Bond just says some like bullshit throwaway line like, "I suppose we all have to get our jollies somewhere," and he just says, "Yes, mine are guns, and they always have been." And
it gives him his origin story.
Yeah, his origin story is silly, and yet Christopher Lee carries it off. And the origin story is he grew up in, as we know, the circus, and his only friend was an African bull elephant, who, having been mistreated, goes berserk, and like the ringmaster, I guess, kills this elephant in front of him. He shoots this elephant in front of Scaramanga, and so Scaramanga just shoots him dead in retribution.
He recounts the moment that he shot the ringmaster with this big grin on his face.
It's terrifying.
And I also want to highlight that there is no music in this scene.
No.
It's just the ambient noise, and it's just the tension. And Christopher Lee hardly ever makes eye contact with Roger Moore. He really only does it at like one or two moments. One is where he says, "You see, Mr. Bond, I always liked animals." And then he turns to look at him and says, "But then I discovered I liked killing people even more." And then at the end of the scene where he says, he finally turns to look at Roger Moore in the eye and says, "Please don't try to follow me." And then gets up and goes. It's so fucking good. Like, watch this scene on YouTube if you can. Because Christopher Lee just fucking bosses it.
He's so languid. Like, he moves so little. There's an economy in it that I really appreciate.
There's something to be said truly for how good an actor Christopher Lee is, that he can make a man's origin story being, "My best mate was an elephant, and I went on a revenge killing spree after he died," into like quite a genuinely compelling moment. Also, Knick-Knack's eating peanuts behind him. And we should discuss that while this is going on, they are actually doing spy shit. They've identified that the Solex agitator, baby, that shit's just on the floor.
Yeah, she just dropped it when she was shot.
Like,
Bond,
he looks down and sees that.
Bond takes it and like gives it to Hip by simple misdirection.
Hip, who is posing as like a peanut.
He orders like a pack of peanuts, drops them, and then like palms the Solex and gives it to Hip. Hip gives it to Goodnight. Goodnight follows Scaramanga and Knick-Knack as they're leaving, and because No Thought's head empty.
Something else I want to look up is that this isn't funny. Goodnight has a Gucci handbag in this scene. Really? I just thought that was good. I wrote it down in full caps.
Yeah. She gets immediately bundled into the boot by Scaramanga. He does not even struggle with it. He just like pops the boot and just like, what? So Scaramanga now has the Solex unbeknownst to him because it's in her handbag. She's in the boot of the car. Bond tries to chase after them. And
the lesson here ultimately is women should do as they're told.
Bond even
Nothing
says
less,
that.
nothing more.
Because Bond and Hip come out of the match, and then Bond says, "Where's Goodnight?" And Hip's like, "Well, she's supposed to be here. She's got the Solex in her handbag." And Bond goes, "Women.
Am I right?
She's a secret agent.
Yeah.
She's been there for like 2 years, and she has no agency at all.
M praises her actually at one point and says she's a good agent.
Yeah.
Like,
No secret agency.
yeah.
So Bond has to chase after Scaramanga's car, which is like a bronze AMC Matador. And of course, behind him is an AMC dealership. How much did AMC, the motor company, kick in for this movie? Less than you'd think. Where there is a red AMC Gremlin, and you
know what I would like to see a bit more of, though?
Who just happens to be in the passenger seat?
What I would like to see a bit more of?
This is the part I really
Louisiana racism guy.
Sheriff J.W. Pepper, Louisiana State Police.
Sergeant J.W. Pepper.
He's there. He's there getting a test drive.
He's there.
South
He's
Asian
there.
country
Bond,
now.
He's sitting in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a thing that you do when you're on vacation, is think about buying a car. And Bond takes the wheel, drives up this fully fueled, ready to go show car, chases after Scaramanga.
J.W.
J.W. Pepper.
J.W. Pepper is in the car,
He is
yelling
like-
racial abuse.
Yeah,
talking about commies.
You're that secret agent. That English secret agent from England.
20 minutes of this.
The painkillers I took previously hadn't kicked in at
Nope.
this point, and I was just staring at the packet for the entirety of this scene.
Yep. So the car chase that follows is not really noticeable, but for one thing, right? Which is that they have to get across a canal to chase after Scaramanga, and in order to do that, Bond takes a broken bridge, and he like ramps it and flips the car 360 degrees horizontally. And they did that stunt like in real life. That's not an effect. They did that.
On the first take.
On the first take, they gave the stuntman, whose name was Bumps Willard, by the way, a $30,000 bonus on the spot for landing it. And then, having done this, they put a slide whistle over it.
I wrote that down
It
almost
goes,
verbatim. I wrote, imagine the fucking effort and planning that went into conceiving of, setting up, and pulling off that stunt. Imagine the hours upon hours of dedicated work that went into
Modifying the car.
and then they put a slide
As far as I know,
over
this
it.
was the first computer-modeled car stunt, because they had to simulate this in order to make it work. They had to make the car custom. The steering wheel and the seat is in the center. Everything else extraneous has been taken out of it to remove weight. And then in order to do this scene, which they still, like, people try to replicate and still can't do now, they do it, and then the noise that they put over it is, like, I would say the most ill-judged Bond noise we've heard since
I knew you were going to flag that.
Well, I didn't have the slide
Yeah.
whistle, so I went to the next best thing.
It genuinely is just a slide whistle.
Yeah, it's a slide whistle.
Like, it took me out of this moment so hard. 'Cause it's a comical noise for something like... They slowed down the footage a little bit as well
Yeah.
to make the stunt last longer. So it looks like he does this at about 3 to 4 miles an hour. And slide whistle.
Yeah.
It is a very cool stunt. I think it was done as part of like a car stunt show previously by like a traveling, not like a traveling circus, but like, you know, like a professional cunt star, professional cunt star show.
The professional cunt
star show. So sorry.
007, they're called the professional cunt
Please try and bring the cunt back in one piece, 007.
Changing the name of the group chat to professional cunt stars.
Oh, baby. Don't worry, I am already there.
A professional stunt car show did this stunt, and somebody saw it and they decided I'm so sorry.
Bernard Lee's M being like, now, what do you know about the professional cunt
cunt
stars?
But like we have
me and the girls after COVID.
we have another cunt star to get through.
Getting that surgery to get the professional cunt star.
Kill James Bond merch.
That's your medal.
Cunt stars, Letterman
Dad,
jacket.
That's your medal for services to pussy. Is the professional cunt star?
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. I just fucking derailed the whole
This movie doesn't just have the one cunt star. It has 2 cunt stars.
No, thank you for this, because I've been worried that we've been quite serious thus far.
But Scaramanga and Knick-Knack drive the car into a barn, and the barn fits fucking wings and an engine onto the car. I can say words. Onto the car, and it takes off and flies with Goodnight in the boot. And because she's fully bimbified, she's like, "Oh, I think we've stopped." Opens the boot and sees that they're at like 5,000 feet or whatever. Incidentally, like JW Pepper tries to reason with the cops and gets arrested, but he does threaten them at one point with
I got connections. I'm going to get the FBI on your ass, the CIA. God damn it, I'm going to get Henry Kissinger.
Which is no idle threat for an American to make in Southeast Asia in 1971.
No, it is not.
Anyway, yeah. So luckily,
yeah, and we never see that character again.
No,
so
he was
I
killed.
choose to believe he was
He
executed.
was killed by firing squad. Watch the documentary "The Last Executioner," which begins with them shooting Sheriff J.W. Pepper, Louisiana State Police. So Bond and Hip teleport back to Hong Kong, and thankfully they're like, "Oh, we've tracked the fucking plane to a group of islands in red Chinese waters," because whenever a Bond movie of this period wants an agent of chaos, it just goes with red China. And so Bond is like, okay, I'll go and like infiltrate it off the books, so you don't have to know anything about it. So Bond invades China.
Well, the fucking exchange, and I've slightly editorialized the exchange, but really not as much as you would imagine, is that Bond is just like, "So what if we simply entered Chinese airspace, sir?" And M goes, "Absolutely out of the question." And then Bond just replies like, "What if I did it secretly?" And then it cuts to him doing it.
Yeah, he just does
and
it.
then not 20 seconds later, it cuts to a red Chinese radar base being like, "Some guys in our airspace."
Yeah, you want us to shoot him down, boss? And Scaramanga's like, no, this is all part of my plan.
There is a great bit where Scaramanga's on the phone to them, and he says, no, please don't shoot him down. He's a guest that I'm expecting. Pause. No, he won't be leaving. So
my
good.
god, dude. Christopher Lee, god. Yeah, so Scaramanga welcomes Bond, or rather,
he is loving it. He's loving this scene.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is first Knick-Knack welcomes Bond with
"Bonjour, Monsieur Bond,"
and a tray with a bottle of Dom Perignon on, which a hidden Scaramanga uses like a BB gun to shoot the cap off of. And of course,
it's not a BB gun; it's a real pistol.
And so Bond flinches, of course, and like almost goes to like draw his gun, and Scaramanga's just like, "You have to forgive me, but I couldn't resist. It was too good not to." He
is grinning. He's loving having Bond on his island.
He puts the gun down on the tray next to the champagne, which has drenched Knick-Knack, and he's like, "As you see, I'm now completely unarmed." And oh my god, like this is Scaramanga's invitation to Bond, right? Where he just eats this scene up, right?
We have so much in common, Mr. Bond. We have so much to discuss, and we will never have this opportunity again. Ours is the loneliest profession, so let us spend a few pleasant hours together.
Ours is the loneliest profession. Is a line that, like,
because this is before podcasting was invented.
That's true. That with that delivery goes much harder than this movie has any right to let it go. But so Bond is like, fine, whatever. I don't give a shit. And Scaramanga gives him the tour. He gives him the tour of his his island lair, which is delightful, actually.
It truly looks lovely. We get another classic. Here is the exploder key, Mr. Bond. Section.
Yeah, he shows him the Solex.
Scaramanga's just like, "Yo, here's our solar power plant. If this shit gets above,
here's the one guy
zero
that we have taking care of it. His name's Kra. He's wearing like a boiler suit.
Yeah, he looks cool. He's just built. He has an afro and a mustache.
Yeah, it's that one guy. He runs the solar power station by himself. And now he explains his plan to Bond. And Bond, of course, because as we've previously mentioned, Roger Moore Roger Moore's Bond knows everything and is insufferable about it. So Bond is just like pointing out, minus 275 degrees or whatever. And Scaramanga is just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't give a shit.
Which is not a
I just work here. And so, but like the thing that I have in my notes for Scaramanga's plot is not even illegal. Scaramanga's plot is he is going to auction the ability to use solar power to the highest bidder. And whoever can use it will like be able to build power stations with it, will be able to franchise it to other countries. And I'm just like, that's not illegal even.
It's literally not an illegal plot.
Yeah,
like,
that's a nice
just illegal. It's just like free enterprise.
If anything, it's going to help the world actually a little bit. I mean, it's not as good as giving it away for free, but it's not like he's going to destroy it.
There is one kind of revealing line though.
The oil sheiks will pay you just to keep solar energy off the market. The thought had occurred to me.
1973. So yeah,
he's also built a laser gun. He's built just for fun.
He's built a laser gun.
At this moment, before we flag the laser gun up, at this moment, it was 4:30 a.m. An hour and a half into this fucking movie. I was cold. I was tired. My painkillers had not helped my headache. I'd gotten onto the train to get back to my fucking hometown of Barnstable. The ticket inspector asked if I had a rail card. I looked in my wallet, I realized I didn't have it, and I must have looked up at him with the most defeated expression a human being has ever had, because he literally just went, "Don't worry about it," like before I'd even said a word.
Nice.
Which, first of all, hell yeah to that guy, Dudes Rock. Thank you, my man. I do have a rail card, I just forgot it. But also, that's where I was.
Yeah.
And we have the classic third act laser satellite genre twist.
Yeah. He has built like a gun that goes off of the Solex, which he's really enjoying himself. Like the line that he uses when he aims this gun is,
"This is the part I really like."
And he uses it to blow up Bond's plane.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is this doesn't come up again.
No, never comes up. Not important.
No.
He's just there like, also you get this if you bid on the Solex.
The thing is,
like, it's like a fucking free gift.
It's a DLC.
The thing is, right, we've seen Scaramanga in like work mode before in this movie, most notably at the Muay Thai arena, right, where he's been like very sort of languid. Here, he switches and he's absolutely jovial. Like, but Bond is like, "Oh, I suppose you can give you the tour or whatever," and he's like,
Splendid.
He's having a great time. He's loving it.
He enjoys himself so much.
He's just showing him the rumpus room and stuff. They have lunch. Knick Knack is a cordon bleu chef.
There's a really nice touch, which is that all of the tableware, the glasses, the cutlery, and everything, it's all made of silver. The only gold thing is the golden gun.
Yeah,
it's a nice little touch.
And
Goodnight is also saying shit with the cadence that one might say like a secret code phrase, but it just isn't registering.
I thought that it would be a secret code phrase. It's just not. She's just.
No, she's just saying shit. I wish I'd written one down. Hang on, let me find.
I wish I could stay here forever.
Yeah. And while she's doing that, Scaramanga is just effortlessly owning Bond, right? He says, like, we understand each other because you and I are the best, right?
You live well, Scaramanga.
At $1 million a contract, I can afford to, Mr. Bond. You work for peanuts. A hearty well done from Her Majesty the Queen and a pittance of a pension. Apart from that, we are the same.
Fucking get his ass.
Yeah. Goodnight looks at him. I've now just reopened the movie to get this. Goodnight looks at him and says, it just goes, "The fried mushroom looks terribly interesting."
There is nothing hidden under the fried mushroom. She just
not quite clear what that was about.
No, she's just saying shit. I don't know.
So
if she thinks that's the kind of thing secret agents do.
Gets quite angry. He calls Scaramanga full of shit, right? For being like, "I'm the same." And we get the closest thing to like an explanation of Bond's ethical code from his own words, as we're going to get for a long time. And this is how Bond, and I want you to think about the people that we've seen Bond kill while we've been making this podcast. I want you to think about that as we go into what Bond considers his ethics to be.
When I kill, it's on the specific orders of my government. And those I kill are themselves killers.
Come, Mr.
Bullshit.
Bond, you disappoint me. You get as much fulfillment out of killing as I do, so why didn't you admit it?
Oh, I admit it's a little kinky.
Okay, I may have stitched those two together.
Well done.
You cut that in.
Yeah.
That was
But
really
he just does Nuremberg shit. He's just like, when I do it, I'm ordered to by the government. And it's like, fucking Priti Patel ordered you to shoot people, did she?
I'm following
well
orders.
done. You're a fucking
Well, she might.
ethical hero of the year.
I only kill bad people, which is not true. I only kill people when I'm told to. Also not true. We've seen Bond kill people for fun.
And specifically when he's told not to. Also, several times we have seen Bond be like told no and just do it anyway.
Now, I do also have to say that come, Mr. Bond, you enjoy killing as much as I do is an iconic Bond villain line.
Oh, yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. But so Scaramanga calls him on his bullshit, and he tells him that what he wants to do is have a duel to the death in his like cartoon funhouse. And Bond is like a little bit rattled by this. He's like, this is quite old fashioned, isn't it? And oh god, there's this fantastic line, right, which Christopher Lee truly sells. He goes, "My golden gun against your Walther PPK," and Bond says, "6 bullets to your 1. I only need 1."
So good.
Chills. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get together on the beach back to back. Knick-knack, cats out, 20 paces, and Bond enters into this sort of game of death, right? In sort of like a fun house with mirrors and like all
because when Bond turns and fires, Scaramanga is gone.
Yeah.
And credit to Roger Moore. Bond shits his fucking pants.
Yeah,
he looks scared.
This is the most peril we've seen Bond in a while. And we see him waste bullet after bullet after bullet on nothing.
And then drop his gun.
And then he drops his gun. I think at one point, like Knick-knack comes on over the intercom. There's like only 3 bullets left, Mr. Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, we know how it has to end. And they also cut this sequence short in order to include the rest of this shit. But Bond outwits Scaramanga. If you're quick, you kind of notice it before it happens. You're like, wait a second, that Bond mannequin still has all of its fingers, but we saw those get shot off in the first sequence. Bond has like changed into the mannequin's clothes and like adopted its fucked Bond shooting stance perfectly. And he kills Scaramanga, who says nothing. He just looks shocked, and he dies.
I'm glad he says nothing.
Yeah,
I'm glad he doesn't say anything.
If he'd said anything, it really would have retracted. I think.
But Bond then manages to destroy it himself because he rescues Goodnight, and she says, "What happened?" And Bond says he landed on his coup de grace.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It sounds a bit like us. I wanted Scaramanga to kill Bond. It would have been a more fulfilling ending. Kill James Bond.
Or at least wound him in such a way that like comes back in later films that like he's like now got a fucked shoulder because like Scaramanga shot him.
He is untouched.
Or like he's still got the golden bullet in him.
Yeah.
Anyway, all the while, during this sequence, it's intercut with Goodnight doing maybe the one spy thing she actually ever does, which is be a woman who exists.
Yep.
So the other guy, what's his name?
Kra. His name is Kra.
Kra notices her because she's wearing a bikini and just like walks over,
like
follows her like a fucking puppy.
Yeah.
And she just kicks him into this big fucking liquid helium container, which is said to be at absolute zero, which I have some notable complaints about.
She flips the big destroy base switch by kicking a guy into it.
He falls into it and it like pans up to a sign that says absolute zero must be maintained to avoid instant criticality. And it's like, okay, well, that's
whatever.
Sure, man.
So Bond and Goodnight search for the Solex. Bond gets down into the Solex hole because it's in a hole next to a big beam that would go in when the sunlight. He has turned this off so he can get in. He's like trying to hit it with his shoe and trying to hit it with his gun because he's too dumb to know how to unscrew anything. Again, no thoughts, head empty. Goodnight hits the big laser beam turn on button with her ass. And
yeah, she's in the perfect, like, that drawing of I'm using the word as it was used, bimbo, like staring at a book on the ground pose.
Yeah.
Where her ass is just perfectly out to the side and she just knocks a big switch that says destroy base.
Yeah. Oh my god, she does look like the bimbo looking at a book on the ground. She is doing that pose.
Perfect.
And so she almost kills Bond. Bond shouts at her some more until she like presses every button and he gets the Solex free in time. The base blows up and they escape. They fucked up making this, and they nearly killed both Roger Moore and Britt Eklund doing this.
Scaramanga's revenge.
Yeah. Roger Moore said that like when they're running, he's got his like arm around her back, right? And an explosion goes off behind them and it burnt all of the hair off of his arm. So kind of fine there, guys. And then, of course, we have another standby, right? Which is, hey, we can just leave this whole henchman loose end and just go about our business, right? We can just be fucking on some sort of mode of transport home, and we're not gonna like expect any kind of retribution. So they steal Scaramanga's junk, right? And as Bond and Goodnight are fucking, Knick-Knack appears and tries to kill Bond. This is not treated with any kind of dignity, right?
No.
He like throws champagne bottles at Bond until Bond locks him in a suitcase. And we are for a second meant to believe that Bond just fucking throws him overboard, but instead Bond like hoists him up into the rigging of this junk.
So, I mean, at least he survives.
Yeah, that is true.
Which I can only imagine is as, like, a direct response to how Whisper is tweeted. God damn it. How Whisper is treated in the I'm doing it now. How Whisper is treated in the previous movie, where he's just locked in a thing and left.
Yeah, but Bond literally gibbets Knick-Knack here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knick-Knack's just put on like the rigging.
Yeah, and
he looks perturbed.
That's the movie.
That's the movie.
That's the movie. This is a 2-hour movie. It's the last one that Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman did together, because Harry Saltzman like almost went bankrupt and had to sell his stake in Eon Productions, and they also had a massive falling out, which is kind of apparent. This was like a disaster to make. Albert Broccoli wanted an elephant chase in it.
I'm glad that did not happen.
John Barry, the composer, like really half-assed it. The director of photography quit halfway through. It really had a troubled production, and it would be another like there's a 2-year delay between this and The Spy Who Loved Me, which is the next one.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, the reception that this got was so lukewarm that for a while it was seriously considered like, maybe we should not make any more Bond movies.
See, that's a shame, because I did enjoy this more than a lot of the other ones. A large part of that is Christopher Lee. I actually like the music. They keep reusing the theme song, the theme from the theme song, but they like put little twists on it here and there, which is quite nice. Like Scaramanga's got a good little leitmotif. Like, and it makes sense in ways that previous films don't.
I have one objection to this.
Sheriff J.W. Pepper, Louisiana State Police.
Yeah.
It's cool that
he's in this movie for almost as much as Scaramanga is.
Why is he in this movie? Why does J.W. fucking Pepper have the... Who fucking watched the previous movie and went like, oh, you know who my favorite character is? You know who they should make recurring?
Sheriff J.W. Pepper, Louisiana State Police.
Like, they're trying to do like a Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen shit where it's like, yo, fucking Bond's buddy Sergeant J.W. Pepper.
I get that he's meant to be like a foil for Bond, because Bond is meant to be like slick and sophisticated and he's meant to be like crude. But it's also interesting that they say that he's the opposite of Bond because he's racist, when, as we have seen in the previous film, Bond is extremely racist.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is another example along with Red Grant of trying to do the villain as like mirror Bond, I think more successfully than From Russia with Love almost, just because of Christopher Lee. And the reason why is like
Christopher
I have a theory about this, right? Which is that there's a line in here. Andrea says when she's explaining why she can't leave him, she says he's a monster. I think Christopher Lee plays him exactly like the same fucking way he did Dracula or the Mummy, right? I think he has like played him as a horror character, as a monster, and then just kind of gone from there, and it works so well. Yeah, I don't know that he works as well as like a dark mirror of Bond or whatever, because most of the argument that he has with Bond, he wins.
Yeah, he's too interesting, whereas Bond is not.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a science-based system on this
We do.
podcast.
It's cool.
Even though Christopher Lee says science was never my strong point. Mr. Bond.
It's called the Scum system, the Scum paradigm. 4, SMARM, cultural insensitivity, unprovoked violence, and misogyny. We score these on a flexible scale of 0 to 7 or more than 7 if we feel like it. So, how do we feel that this movie does in terms of...
Never less than 0.
How do we feel this movie does in terms of SMARM? I feel like no Roger Moore movie has no SMARM.
Yeah.
And in particular, I'm thinking of like the way in which he talks to women is a combination of SMARM and misogyny that is like...
It's a classic combo.
Yeah, that is distinct from like where Connery might have had a lower SMARM but a much higher misogyny. I feel like Roger Moore is kind of like both.
Yeah.
I would say it's fairly high. I think a 4 or a 5.
I'd go 5. I would say a 5.
Yeah, I'm willing to put a 5 up.
Okay.
It's definitely his base, like Roger Moore's baseline misogyny is certainly higher than, no, sorry, not baseline misogyny, that's about the same. His baseline SMARM is definitely higher than Sean Connery's and certainly higher than Lazenby's.
Yeah. Cultural insensitivity. Well, I mean, we are in Asia land in this movie. And...
Well, they have the decency to condense all of the cultural insensitivity down to one man.
Yeah. Who could that man be?
Sheriff J.W. Pepper, Louisiana State Police.
But yeah, that like I hate him so much. I hate Roger Moore so much. Also, Bangkok and Hong Kong and like to an extent, even Beirut are basically interchangeable. Macau also. The fucking
sumo wrestlers in Thailand. All Asian people know karate.
All Asian people know karate and are named things like Chew Me and make things called like Fu Ya.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's at least a 5.
I'd be persuaded to go 6.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Is it as culturally insensitive as Diamonds Are Forever, which was a 6? Because that got points for homophobia, remember?
Yeah.
We can't really weigh homophobia and racism, can we?
I would say it's about equivalent. Yeah.
6 years.
Unprovoked violence. Oh boy, one scene just takes this.
Yeah.
Because in terms of like violence to other spies and stuff, it's relatively low. Like,
well, notably, Bond kills exactly one man in this movie, and it's only Scaramanga.
His default. I mean, he does threaten Lazar. That's kind of violent.
He threatens Lazar. He does. Yeah. He like punches the guy at the karate arena. He kicks a cop out of a boat, which is practice. But like
he pushes a child into a river.
And he tortures a woman for information. And like not even there's no such thing as light torture, but you know what I mean. It's not like.
Alice, I think if anybody knows about the existence of light torture, Alice, it must be you.
Yeah, unprovoked violence. I feel like this is kind of middling here. I want to say like a 4.
Yeah. How do you feel, Dave?
Yeah.
4?
Oh, I'm happy to go over 4.
Okay.
I'm going to take the backseat on this one.
And misogyny.
Oh boy.
This is probably the most comprehensively mistreated a Bond girl has been since Mrs. Galore.
Yep. And even if we don't count like textual mistreatment, just the writing of Mary Goodnight as just an absolute fucking moron, that's got to count for
Mary
something.
Goodnight,
too.
definitely. And oh fuck, I've forgotten Scaramanga's girl's name.
Andrea Anders.
Andrea Anders. Yeah, no, I would give it easily at least a 6 for just how they handled Andrea.
I'd go 7, honestly.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. Cool.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm happy with a 7 as well.
Where
Swung
does
on the side of down.
on our sabermetric score? Where does this put the man with the golden gun in the Bond canon?
That gives it a total score of 22, which is about in the middle. I mean, Live and Let Die is still the highest at 28, so we've come down a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
It's equally as offensive as You Only Live Twice.
Yep.
Less offensive than Goldfinger.
Yep. I think that's on the basis that Goldfinger does like show a textual rape, whereas this like alludes to it.
It shows a textual corrective rape that is shown to work.
Yeah,
it's only one point short. It's only 1 point short of Goldfinger, and had it been an 8 on misogyny as Goldfinger was, we would have been neck and neck.
Well, that sounds right.
Here's my question: we have one other award to give out, which is the Kronsteen Rosette.
The Kronsteen Rosette, like
for a henchman who went above and beyond the line of duty and was underappreciated in their time. I have a nomination. I'm interested to hear either of yours.
My nomination is the second karate guy that Bond fights in the black gi.
Chula, yes, that was also mine.
See, I thought the Kronsteen Rosette was to honor underappreciated side characters specifically. And in that regard, I was going to nominate Agent Goodnight for the Kronsteen Rosette. But maybe Chula.
Fuck
Chula
no! I want to change my answer. I'm gonna throw us back out of quorum again because my answer is Lazar. He's having too much of a good time.
He is. He does a good job. He's a good actor.
Okay, I think we might have to split the Kronsteen Rosette into villain and otherwise because we have a lot of like villainous side characters that get nowhere near the appreciation they deserve. Such as Chula.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think the villain's Kronsteen Rosette goes to Chula, but I'm willing to hear argument for the general one for either of yours.
I mean, only because Nick Nack is obviously getting a lot of glory anyway. He's very well remembered from this film.
He's not.
I'm happy with Chula, who does a great job in his scene.
Yeah, let's do that. Wow.
And Goodnight gets whatever the ally version of the Kronsteen Rosette is. If you think of what that could be, put it in the comments. Thank you.
The Goodnight Award.
The
Goodnight Award, sure. Hell yeah.
So what are we watching next time, Alice?
We are watching... Well, we're going to have a bonus episode in between, which is TBD. But after this, our next mainline episode is The Spy Who Loved Me. Oh, God.
I don't remember it. Never heard of it.
Never seen it?
It's the one with the underwater car.
Oh God, not more underwater shit.
Oh, it's the first one with Jaws in. Okay, right. I might have an okay time.
Okay, well, we have been the professional cunt stars.
That's
right.
We have a Patreon where we will be doing much the same, but for non-mainline Bond movies, like sort of deuterocanonical Bond stuff. I have been Alice Caldwell-Kelly. Joining me have been Abigail Thorne and Devon. And we will see you in 1 week for the bonus episode, or 2 weeks for The Spy Who Loved Me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to yet another episode of Kill James Bond. We will be back in 2 weeks' time for The Spy Who Loved Me. But if that is simply too long for you to wait, you can head on down to our Patreon, patreon.com/killjamesbond, where we upload bonus episodes every other week. Speaking of patrons, our most beautiful and gorgeous patrons, our £15 and above patrons are Paint McCullough, George Rohack, Nikki, Jack Bushell, Larrykins, Amanda Comet, Timothy Pajoni, Trip, Alfredo, Joshua Simmons, Raoul Leal, Zoe Shepherd, Jonas Schwamberger, Robbie Morgan, James Knapman, and Ramonan. A couple of new names in there. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me live and eat. Shirt alert. Head on down to our website. You have until the 20th of June to pre-order our first ever t-shirt. This has been Kill James Bond, starring Alice, Abby, and Devon. Our producer is Nate Bethea. Our podcast art is by Matt Obchansky, and our website is by Tom Allen.